to Baseball, Books, and Banter with me, Nicole Aslan, your host. Crowd goes wild. All the tens of you that listen, which I appreciate, every single one of you. It's Super Bowl Sunday when I'm recording this intro and outro. If you watch the video, you'll go, wait a minute, Nicole, you were wearing different outfits and your hair looks shorter. Yes, I did get a haircut in between the time I recorded with Christine and the time that I am recording this. And sorry, didn't mean to confuse everybody. But I had to get all freshened up for New York tomorrow. I'm leaving in the morning. I'm going to go see Seth Meyers in the afternoon. Hope to hit the Strand bookstore at some point. And then Tuesday's the big day when I go to Kelly and Mark, not Kelly and Ryan, not Kelly and Michael, Kelly and Mark in honor of my mom's 70th birthday, which is today. I posted on Facebook, but it still feels weird that she's not around, and that so much has happened on our shows that I want to talk to her about. So I still talk to her. And I've had people tell me that the cats can see spirits and that she's obviously with me a lot. Probably when I'm watching General Hospital and complaining about the way the storylines are going. So, yeah, we had a lot of, I think yesterday during the hockey game, Captain was looking around and then Morgan Geeky scored a goal. So I feel like that was from my mom because that was her favorite player. But before we dive into the interview, I want to talk about things I'm obsessed with. The first one, I rediscovered my love of Britney Spears yesterday. I decided to listen to it as I was driving around and still holds up. Big fan. So Britney is my current obsession, current and former obsession, mainly because back in my thinner, younger days, my dream was to be a Britney Spears tour dancer because I just thought all her dances were super cool. And that was the era of, extensive choreography. So that was the dream. Didn't work out. Plus also I feel like I can sing her songs. I always said Christina was great, but I felt like an idiot singing her songs, but Britney is like manageable, so I can sing her songs. Another thing I'm obsessed with, and I forgot to write this guy's name down. I think it's TJ something, but it's all over TikTok right now. He wrote a song, and I think he's releasing it on Spotify, and I've listened to every remix. It's such a bop, and it makes you... It's basically about the fall of our democracy, the dumpster fire that's happening in DC right now. Support your art, support your kids, support trans folks, support LGBT, support poor people, support migrants. Like, if you're not into any of that, you're probably not gonna love my channel and love everything that I talk about. So just let's get that out of the way first. But his song goes... We're in a hostile government takeover. If you hear that sound, that is the man, and I cannot wait. I will download the tunes right away because it just, every day I go to work, and that's all I can think about is like, I have to work, and like, things are falling apart. But that's why we read. That's why we write, to escape. So those are kind of the big things I'm obsessed with. The other big thing I'm obsessed with is this week, pitchers and catchers report to Fort Myers, spring training, and wherever else the baseball teams report to. The Red Sox had like an okay off season. They did sign 2 pitchers and some, I can't swear, but a S pitcher who I really don't want on our team, and I'm keeping hoping they're going to flip him, which is Aroldis Chapman, because he is a horrible human being. So we'll see about that. We're still waiting to sign a righty bat, but I'm excited for the young guys coming up, and this is how I feel about the Patriots too. It can't be worse than last year. It just can't be. The only thing that would make it worse is if they have to cancel everything, and they're not going to do that again, I hope. So I'm excited to see where the team is at. I'm really excited to get baseball back on the radio. The Celtics are giving me life still. They're uneven, but they're good uneven. Like, they have really bad games, but then yesterday they blew out the Knicks by like 30 points. So, you can't... The Bruins are still kind of wishy-washy. They're really good for a good period of time, and then they get really bad, and then they always seem to give up a lot of stuff in the third period, which really frustrates me because they're ahead a lot of times. And then they give up, I don't know if they get complacent. I don't know if it's because they're old and tired, but like, why do you give up leads in the third period? Like, stop it. But like I said, Morgan Geeky scored a goal, which gets me very happy because he was my mom's guy. And I think because today would have been her 70th birthday, that she sort of had a hand in that. So, yeah, so it's pretty exciting. Christine Knapp was amazing. You're going to enjoy her interview. There was a little bit of confusion at first because, we're all living in a snow bubble right now, but she does come on camera towards the middle of the discussion, so you can see her and her beautiful view of the snowy backyard. So if you're on YouTube, you're going to see a lot of my face for a while, and then you'll see her face. But if you're listening, doesn't matter. You're just going to listen to us anyway. It's a funny thing. We talk about this a little bit, but we've met at various events, and she's another one of those people that I can talk to for a while. After we hang up, or after we stop recording, I try to leave a minute so I can tell them, like, oh, hey, I'm going to put this together and send it out this day. I'll email you, yada, yada, yada. But we were just talking normally. Well, I told her all that stuff, and then we were talking normally, and then I got the cut off. And I think it cut off right when I was talking about how now when I wash my hair, my bathroom looks like a crime scene, and I look like a murderer. And that's when it cut off. And I'm like, I just want to clarify, I'm a fictional murderer. I don't actually kill people. So, Christine, that's where we got cut off yesterday. But she's really cool. She's coming out with her 5th book in 3 years, which is amazing. And it's a full series, the Modern Midwife series. So I hope you enjoy it, and I will see you on the other side. Christine.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Nicole.
I'm so excited because you have 4 books out now. As of January 7th, you have 4 books, right? Is
Right.
that good? I did the count right. Um, they're the Modern Midwife Mysteries. Is that
Yeah.
the correct title? And you're a former midwife yourself. So obviously that fits together well. But what I'll do is I'll let you kind of give people a little bit about who you are and what kind of began your writing, and then we'll jump right in.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Nicole. So yeah, I'm a nurse midwife, retired now. And, you know, over all the years, I mean, every woman has a choice about what type of a practitioner they want to see for OBGYN. But I really felt that midwives, what they do was not well understood. Even though I had been one for a long time, even when I retired, still women would say, well, why a midwife? Or
Mm.
what does a midwife do? So I really felt this, I guess, desire to promote midwifery, but I also loved mysteries so much that I had this idea, maybe crazy at the time, to do a modern midwife. And I saw Amish midwives or historical midwives in
Sure.
fiction. And also, I didn't love how nurses were treated on TV with, tight uniforms, big
Yeah,
breasts, kind of dumb. And I just hated that stereotype. I mean, it's getting better now. But I have to say, Nicole, even Outlander, which I love,
sure.
Claire was an army nurse.
Hmm.
And then, of course, I know for time travel, she had to become a physician for those skills.
Yep.
I was like, really, Claire? Could you just have stayed a nurse? But anyway,
Yeah.
and promote nursing. Anyway, so that was my thought. And like all of us, I'm sure, Nicole, I went to writing conferences. I had written textbooks, but no fiction. And you'd give like a few chapters and get some feedback. And finally, after a few years. I mean, the first one took me 10 years to write. After a few years, I finally decided I needed an editor.
Mm.
And, I think an editor is like finding the right therapist. I went online. It was during COVID. I didn't really, some I clicked with, but then I finally found this one woman who's a single shop editor in San Francisco. And we Zoomed, and she's been with me. It's going to be 5 books. The 5th one's
Wow.
coming this year. She's been with me through all 5. I call her my book midwife. And she's wonderful. She basically, I'll just tell you quickly, I sent the first one off, came home from work every day,
Yep.
waiting to see what she'd say, got a 15-page editorial letter. The first 3 pages were, love your setting, love your characters, love your plot. The other 12 pages were, okay, wait a minute.
Here's where we
Take
fix it.
all these characters out, learn how people really speak to each other. You have to learn plotting, read all these books, and revise this entire thing. And
Wow.
I think that's pretty familiar story I hear from
Sure.
people, you know.
Especially for first books.
First books, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially first books by people like me and you who had careers outside of
right,
writing. Like people that write for a career probably have it a little bit different because that's what they're using that muscle memory every day.
right.
Whereas like being a nurse, you're not honing that. You're listening to people, but you're not honing how to translate that into two words.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Exactly.
which is hard because like sometimes when I'm writing, dialogue is sometimes hard because you want it to make sense, but also sometimes when we talk, we don't make sense, and it's hard to go. I have to write a sentence that doesn't make sense because
Right.
that's how real people talk, but then it looks weird because it doesn't make sense. Maybe that's just because I talk like I don't make sense sometimes, and I'm like, oh no, what am I going to say? Oh no, I do. And the point about the editor is 100% accurate. With the first two, the first two books in the ballpark, I had a woman who's through my publisher who was down in Bridgewater, Mass, and so she kind of knew the slang. She knew some of the idiosyncrasies of South Shore living. So some of that stuff was able to, I didn't have to explain to too many people like what the ice Dunkin' coffee thing is about. Because she's like, no, I get it. She's like, oh, the Ugg boots and the tan. Yeah, I get it. Like, I know that person. So it's kind of nice when you can click. And like you said, it's almost like a therapist, a nurse, a midwife, somebody who's kind of guiding you to be the
Right.
best version of you because they don't want you to fail,
Right.
which is why I love this world of writing because people there, well, I'm sure there are people that are like, I hope she fails, but a majority of the people want other writers to be successful too.
Right. They're so supportive. They're
Yeah,
so
and
supportive.
especially I think the mystery writing community, I have not had any problems with
Right.
people being catty, being dismissive. They know it's a subjective um, field. Like I might not like computer hacking books, but there's somebody who does.
Right. Right.
And I think that's great. And I know that there's a lot of people, there's a lot of, oh, I'm sorry, Captain's making an appearance. Captain, go away.
But mom, I need to be here.
Yeah, Captain feels very important today because we're going to get a snowstorm tomorrow, and she wants to make sure everybody knows that she's still here. She's still living in my house, causing a ruckus. But I think nursing, because like you said, it's a lot of historical nursing mysteries, romances. You don't see a lot of present day. And I think, again, to your point, midwifery is something you think about when you think historically. You don't think of the modern version of it. How did you how do you find people receiving that? Are they really interested in that part of it, or are they more focused on the mystery, or what kind of feedback do you get from people?
It's interesting, Nicole. The woman who was my agent, she unfortunately passed away.
Oh, Dawn.
Dawn,
Yeah.
Dawn. It was lovely. And so lots of cozy mysteries. I mean,
Hmm.
she did a huge amount of authors, but she told me she signed me because she had never heard of a modern day midwife. I mean,
Wow.
was a lot of the reason. And I mean, she's a wonderful person. And, you know, the publisher, this is interesting. The publisher had had a home birth. I mean, I only do hospital birth, but
Right.
she's from California and I think she had had a home birth or had a midwife, and she was very interested. So it was very strange how it happened. But anyway, I retired from Mass General, and I have to say the doctors, midwives, and nurses have been incredibly supportive. They post all over social media. I've heard from I've heard from a number of emails from a number of women, one from Germany, which is very interesting. Nicole, there's a lot of OB/GYN vignettes in the story. I mean, along with the murder.
Sure.
He's a practicing midwife. And this woman wrote to me and said she had had a difficult pregnancy, like something I described in the book. And she said, I finally felt heard. She said, I never felt heard, and I didn't understand what my caretakers were thinking. And, you know, it's like all of my life I've taken care of women,
Yeah.
and it made me a better midwife, a better person. You're there with their worst sorrow and their greatest joy. And I thought, if that's the reason I wrote these, that she could feel that, then how lucky am I that that
Right.
happened?
And for
And
her to feel safe enough to reach out to say that.
yes, I know it was incredible.
Yeah.
So it's been well, it's been who knows? I think they've been well received. Some people, it's funny, most of the reviews have been good. You look on Amazon
Yeah.
or Goodreads. And one woman said, you'll love this at the very beginning, the first book, she said, there should be a trigger warning that this is about pregnancy. And I thought, okay.
Midwife?
You
Mm,
know, you have to like kind of go on, Nicole, and just,
yeah.
okay, it wasn't her thing. That's fine.
Yeah, and that's it. That's why I know a lot of authors, I think it's more the big published authors who are like, I don't read my reviews. I don't do that. I do, but I
You
also
do,
don't internalize them
right.
because I know that it's a subjective. Like I know, again, I don't like certain books and
Exactly.
I'll read it, but I'm not going to go onto that person's website and be like, this book sucked because I hated it. Like, that's not my place. Somebody else is going to love it. I know not everybody likes baseball. So if they're not going to pick up my book because it's baseball, I get it. I had one agent back in the query in trenches who was just the first sent, she wrote one line in my rejection. She's like, I hate baseball. So no, thank you. And I was like, okay, that's fine.
Well,
That's
I had somebody write, no midwives, thank you. I was like, okay, it's good. It's like, at least at that point you go, okay,
and
on.
that makes sense because I don't want you to be flowery and then reject me. Just reject me outright because of personal taste. Fine. Just shows me you didn't read the pages, so it's nothing about my writing. It's literally just not your thing. Cool. Fine.
Oh,
um, so you said it took 10 years to write the first one, Murder at the Wedding.
right, really off and on 10 years.
Yeah,
And then once I retired, I have to laugh. So once I signed Dawn sent it out, you know, three small, publishers on, it's not Simon and Schuster, Nicole, three, but my publisher's great. Gemma Halliday
yeah,
signed me. And then, of course, you sign a contract. And I always laugh, Catholic school girl, it had to be in the next one 6 months. Okay. So you write the next one in 6 months. I mean, edited,
sure,
time to get edited. But,
correct.
and I was very lucky, after Dawn's passing, which was so unexpected and so
Right.
terrible. I did get another agent picked me up, but not for this series. I
Oh,
mean, if I do anything else in the future, but my publisher wrote a new contract with just me and the publisher.
sure.
So she had promised, had committed. And so that was great.
Yeah. I think
Um,
I get the emails from Gemma Holiday Publishing. I don't know if it was like I queried them once and I'm like, I'll just get all their newsletters. So I see all the authors coming through, which is pretty fun. Um, so it's a small press, obviously, and now you're doing it one to one without an agent. How is it working with them with the editing process? Do they kind of they get obviously they've been with you since the beginning, so they kind of see the vision of it. Um, do you I guess we don't have frame of reference. Do you prefer a small publisher versus a big? But we don't know because we've only worked with small publishers. So we're like, it's great.
it's always interesting, Nicole, and I'm sure you tell people this. You kind of laugh. I still keep my own private editor for every book, and she
Mhm.
does the content and a line edit. All right, so that's done.
That's nice.
Then, of course, the publisher gets it, and then her editor edits it, of
Mhm.
course. And then you get it back. So I'm in the process of this now, with book five, and you feel like, by the time it's edited 10 times, then you get the arc and you still find things that are, oops,
Mhm.
not quite right, and get that back. So, over and over, I find, the interesting things I learned, and you probably know all this, but, so, my publisher's been great, but they do no promo. So
Mhm.
you have to get a website. I had to get a website, which took me a long time to learn how to do. You have to be on Facebook, you have to
Yep.
be on Instagram, uh, Twitter, whatever, or Blue Sky. You have to be, you have to put things out there. Barnes and Noble, like you and I were at. I've done a lot of the independent bookstores because, and it is tough for me. I think well, I don't know about you, but I'm very introverted, and to put myself out and so say, hey, would you like me to come for a book signing is
Right.
is hard, In some
Right.
library talks, I didn't realize you had to do so much of the promotion yourself,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, I think people get surprised by that. I mean, one good thing for me is I was on social media anyway. So for me, it was just like, oh, I just have to add this to my repertoire of
Right.
annoying posts, annoying cat pictures. Now you get to see annoying book pictures. Um, but yeah, I think the hard part was, I will say, like, the pandemic wasn't all bad because a lot of it then turned to Zooms. So that kind of, for me, my first book came out right before the pandemic. So I had like 6 months of in real life promo and then everything shut down. So I got acclimated to the promo because we were all stuck inside anyway. So
Right.
what else did I have to do but go on Zoom and do videos and at the time tweet. I don't tweet anymore, or X or whatever they call them. Um, but yeah, it is, I think, a learning curve for a lot of writers. And I think conferences and workshops are starting to, not to plug our I don't know if you're, I mean, I assume you're a Sisters in Crime member, but February 23rd, I believe, or 24th, we're having a promo class workshop like on a Saturday. So
Yeah, I saw
go to
that.
Sisters in Crime New England and sign up. um, because yeah, I think it's, I know the Desert Sleuths had one about Facebook ads, because as much as I think I'm like cool and hip and awesome and know Facebook pretty well, there's a lot of new stuff out there. And I had no idea about Facebook ads. I haven't bought one yet, but now I kind of know the general. But yeah, I think that's the hard part. And a lot of writers don't, they think they see like the TV show Castle, where he just shows up at a bookstore and everything's all set up for him and he just walks in. No, no, you got to call. And then Barnes and Noble for a long time, they didn't do indie authors.
Right.
Um, I mean, I hit them up in 2019 before the pandemic, and they're like, no, sorry, we don't do that yet. Like, blah, 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 or we're not doing it. And he then reached out to me, Ian, the store manager, reached out to me last year and was like, oh, we're going to start this. And now I think they've done it every month. And
Right.
I think it's popular. I mean,
No, I think it is. I think it is. Yeah.
especially, and for those that live in this area, we had one Barnes and Noble close in Braintree, which was my college Barnes and Noble. But the Barnes and Noble Hingham at Derby Street is like beautiful. I write there. It's really nice. A lot of shopping. So go buy our books there because we're both in there. Um, but yeah, the promo thing is hard. What did you find the hardest? Was it trying to get on into and onto social media, or the physically calling people and being and hearing the no verbally, like, oh, sorry, we don't have room on the shelves for local books, or oh, this, that, and the other thing?
Yeah. I was on Facebook, but marginally.
Yeah.
So that that took me a bit. And I'm really seriously, Nicole, if you saw me do the website, I switched from whatever. I'm with Wix now, which is much
Okay.
easier. And my publisher really likes you to send out a newsletter monthly, which
Hmm.
I do not. Maybe seasonally.
I was gonna say I'm like a quarterly, if that, because
Well,
you just
I'm
don't think about it, especially if nothing's happening. We're in the dead of winter here in Massachusetts. There's not a lot going on.
I know there's not a lot.
Yeah.
And let's see. So that was a lot. And also it is, I do keep a little list of like the Barnes and Nobles. Wareham is that's a
Yeah.
place near us. Wareham is very nice. And I do keep, I will ask them and then I sort of try to remember to check in 6 weeks if they haven't answered like,
Right.
hello, I'm still here if you want
Me
me,
again.
fine. And
Because I
the
think there's authors who don't do that. So if you're in the person, because it's hard. And I'm again, I'm a millennial. I hate the phone. So like calling people is like my biggest fear. Which is weird because I can do this like no problem, but like put a phone number in front of me. I'm like, I have to call the bank. Oh, I don't want to. Um, but that's because that's like not fun stuff. This is fun stuff to talk about, books and writing. But yeah, I think you have to get used. I think becoming a writer has gotten me used to hearing the word no and not, going back to earlier, taking it personally. I think you learn it's a business,
Mhm.
and you learn to take no not as a no, I hate you. It's no, I don't have this XYZ. I don't have time for this. I don't have space for this. And it's not, I hate your guts. It's just, it took a while to get over that imposter syndrome. No, they hate me personally. They're saying no to me personally. And that again goes to the reviews too. They're not, a lot of times it's not coming after you personally. Um, because even after you get through 3 or 4 edits, an arc, a printed book, there's still going to be a typo.
That's right. Right.
And I'm not one of those people. Again, this might just be my reading style. If I see a typo, unless it's like egregious, like there's 5 pages that just typo, 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 I kind of just skip over the typos when I see them. I'm like, I get it. We're all humans,
You
hopefully.
know, I for about 15 years, I at Talking Information Center in Marshfield, I narrate books to the visually impaired
Yeah.
and the impaired. And I will tell you, every single book, even the bestsellers, every single book has a typo. I mean,
Yeah.
I have not read one that doesn't have something, you
I
know.
mean, I
Come
do
on.
tech writing for my day job, and I'll misspell things. First of all, a lot of those words are hard. Like specialties is my hardest word. I can, for some reason, I just cannot spell that right on the first try every time. And reimbursement, those two words. But it gets looked at by like 4 or 5 people, and it still comes out in the end of, oh, that's not how you spell that. And for some reason, my Microsoft Word at work does the British spelling. So it also doesn't like enrollment with two L's. It likes enrollment with one L, which is weird. Um, but that's just a personal aside. Very upset about my word. Yeah, it's
Am
it
I supposed to have this on so you see me or no?
the what?
I see my name. Am I supposed to have it on so my face is on this?
If you want to.
I don't know how to do that. So, oh, video. I see
Yeah,
video.
yeah. Um, oh, look at the oh,
Oh,
now I see. Oh, what a view. Okay, now
I
this
know. I did that so you could see the snow in the
now
back.
on YouTube, people are gonna be like, oh, that's right. She's in Massachusetts too. You just
Sorry,
made
I
my
didn't know to
boss's
take the
bookshelf.
video.
You know what? It's a Saturday before a snowstorm. After, I mean, let's be honest, the world is on fire. So I'm just happy the sun's out at the moment. Like we're gonna just stick it out. We'll be fine. So hi everybody. This is Christine's face. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening, well then it doesn't matter because you've been listening to her the whole time. Um, so this is now I'm fascinated. So the first book came out in 22,
22.
and now you're on book 4 in early 2025, book 5 in 2025. After you wrote off and on that first one, do you find it's easier now to, or did you find it easier for the next 3 to be drafted for?
So funny, Nicole. The first one, like I said, was forever. The second one, for some reason, which I wish would ever happen again, like I knew the story, I knew the whole
Nice.
thing. Yep, couldn't wait to write it, which is not me, trust me. And then third and fourth was a struggle. And, I wished I was an outliner. I
Mm-hmm.
wished I was better at it. I'm
Same.
not. And my editor says to me all the time, well, some people are and some people not. I should be,
Yeah.
and I'm not. And and I loved those, I loved, and then the last one, it was a little bit easier, the fifth
Okay.
one. Yeah.
Do you have a plan for after book 5? Are there more books coming? Are you going to pivot? And
That's the final one in the series. Yeah.
okay. Oh,
Yeah. I know. I'll miss, it's funny. I'll miss them. I love the characters,
yeah.
but yeah, I kind of want to try something else. And
And it's also nice to know, to have the author know it's the end of the series. I think I look at that like Barbara Ross, who just ended her clam bake series because she knew what she wanted to do at the end, and you don't run the risk of A, overstaying your welcome, and B, ending a series on loose ends because publishing is a stupid sport. Like nobody wants to publish it. Now you have loose ends, and people don't like loose ends, especially fans of a series like that, where they want everybody to kind of resolve themselves at the end. I'm currently rewatching Murder She Wrote because it's on
oh,
during the day, and I don't remember how the last season ended. I should probably pull that up because now I want to know if there was like loose ends or if they tidied it up at the end.
oh,
Um, so yeah, I like that's good to know that. So book 5 you've drafted, it's editing now, or you're in the process?
my editor, I sent it to the publisher. Her editor just sent it back. And, now this is interesting, Nicole. I don't know if you do this. She didn't have many edits. She had one issue that
Mhm.
she and I are going to disagree about, which is fine. But what I do now is I read the books out loud before I do the final thing because I don't know what it is. When you read it, I think all of us, I read kind of quickly, your eye kind of skips over. And then all of a sudden when I read it out loud, because I think I'm just so used to doing it for the
Sure.
talking, that can see like, oh, you use that word 3 times in 2 sentences, really? Like perhaps you'd like to change that.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process of that, and the cover is done. I think. the cover blurb's done. So once I send this back, it takes what, 8 months or so,
Yeah.
and
Well,
yeah,
and you just released Murder at First Light in January.
yeah.
So you want to let that one breathe a little bit.
I'll
You
let that.
like a wine. You just want to let it breathe. I have to say, I did look it up this morning on Amazon to see what the cover looked like for book four, the one that just came out, and I'm obsessed with it. I think whoever does your covers, like two thumbs up.
Well, I got to tell you a funny story about that. On the second book, I'll just show you. Oh, it's got to be back.
Oh,
Lets me do whatever I want.
yeah.
I said I want a New England mansion on the coast with turrets. Well, I kept getting back what looked like an Italian villa.
Oh,
After 3 times, the publisher said, you know what? I am just putting you directly in touch with the artist because you two are a New England mansion.
yeah.
And once I sent her a picture, I think she did that was like one of the nicest covers. And she's beautiful, does all of them great. But I thought, oh, okay. And she did it,
When
beautiful
she knew.
when she knew what it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Um and she's done all four of your covers.
Not all of them. Yeah. Yeah.
That's really nice too to have that through line. Um,
Yeah. She's very, very nice.
yeah, I don't know why. I just love I really like the waves on this fourth one. Like it looks, well, as a New Englander, I'm like, yep, that's a lighthouse, and that is definitely what it looks like in the summer. Um, so I don't know. The waves just give you that little extra oomph
Yeah.
in the book cover.
You know what's interesting? In the story, the midwife's a rower,
Oh,
and
okay.
where she's rowing by the lighthouse. But I didn't tell the artist that. And I just said, I want a lighthouse on the coast, blah, blah. And then she did it exactly without knowing, from the perspective of the midwife who was going by the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Wow, I would have thought to ask for that, but she did a great job.
And now you're like, I can't see it any other way.
Let's see it any.
Like if I have to redo the cover for any reason, you're like, no, it's going to be like this because, and even if it has to be a different stylized, it's going to be from the perspective of Maeve.
Right,
Main
right.
character's Maeve, guys. Sorry, should have thrown that out there. Very Irish name, which I love. Has an Irish by lineage. Sorry, just got a text and it was a bill that's due, and I'm like, no, I'm busy. If anybody wants to sponsor me to pay my bills, that's great. I would totally do it. Do you have a title for book five?
Murder on the Green.
Oh, is it golf?
Ireland. It takes place in
Oh,
Ireland.
love Ireland. That's exciting. Did you have to do research?
Well, I've been there a couple times, and I did have to do it. I always knew I wanted to write about this subject, so I did have to do. And also, this is so interesting. Like I said, very much an introvert. About a year ago, and Nicole, I don't know if you have this. About a year ago, I saw an ad in my local paper, writing group starting, and I thought I'll go to one meeting and never go again, which
Mhm.
is what I do. I went. Well, it's a year later. They are the most generous. It's just like a crime bake. They are the most
Yeah.
generous, supportive, lovely. Some write poetry, memoir, historical fiction, arts magazine. They are such a gift. I cannot tell you. They just want everybody just wants everyone to succeed.
Yeah.
You have this thing, we do writing prompts and you can't say this really is terrible. We just whatever it is, it is. And if
Yep.
you want to read it, not, they're the most wonderful people. And okay, where was I going with that?
So if you're a fan of writing groups,
Oh, yes, a fan of writing groups, but and I just knew that I always wanted to, to do this Irish part. I knew I wanted that's where I wanted it to end.
mm, I'm excited because I think I've talked about this on, I don't know if I've talked about it on the pod. I've talked about it with everybody. My dream is to retire in Ireland. I went for 2 weeks, or not even 2 weeks, 10 days with my mom in 2017. And I was like, yep, I'm ready to move here. I want to live on a sheep farm, next to a sheep farm. I don't want to take care of the sheep. I want a nice, for some reason, I couldn't think of the word shepherd. And I was like, I want a nice sheepman to live next door to me. And I'm like, that's not the right word, is it? And so it's one of the, again, specialties, reimbursement, and sheepmen were my big words this year. So eventually I'm going to move over to the west coast of Ireland, and live in my little farm. So I post about it on Facebook. I'm like, look at this house. This would be great. And all my writer friends are like, writers retreat at Nicole's Irish house. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know if you knew Sheila Connolly before she passed. She wrote the County Cork Mysteries. She also wrote there's an Apple Orchard series. She wrote a theater mysteries because a museum mysteries because before I wanted to be work in a museum, before I was like I need to make money at the same time, so I can't work in a museum. And so she wrote the County Cork Mysteries, which I became obsessed with before I even started writing. And so she ended up moving and getting a vacation home in Ireland, and her and her husband were fixing it up a lot. So like that's my dream. I was like, I want, and everybody's like, are you trying to be Sheila? I was like, maybe, maybe. I said, I'm not gonna have two houses though. It's definitely gonna be a one house issue. I don't know how my cats would take the change, but I think they'd like the sheep. I
Yeah.
think. We'll see.
I was going
But
to say about the writing group, and
yeah.
just was this is how wonderful they are. So I was writing about Ireland. I really needed to know specifically how they said a certain word. And one of them, she said, "Oh, my boss is from Ireland, so he and I now, I'll send him things all the time and say, hey, could you just?" Oh, he says, great. Any other questions? Just tell me. So that's, I mean, that's been an incredible bonus.
Does he have any single children, single Irish boys?
I'll find out.
I would not be adverse to that. Probably could get citizenship that way for both of us, him over here and me over there. Where's your writers group at? Is it at the library or?
No, Duxbury Writers Society. Uh, we usually meet at, this is kind of interesting. We meet at a historical, one of the women
Yeah.
in the Duxbury historian, and she allows us to come to the beautiful archives and
Oh,
write.
oh
You know,
God. Yeah, that's
it's very
inspiration enough, like just to be there. That's awesome. We do have about 6 minutes left, so I do want to make sure I get to book recommendations. Books that changed you, books that you just read, books that you love, anything. We're open.
well. Not that I've been reading a ton about Ireland, but I have been in the past. I don't know if you know Claire Keegan, but
No.
small things like these it's a very small book. It is really life altering.
Hmm.
Killian Murphy was just in the movie.
Okay.
Small things like these from Oppenheimer, if you know him.
Yeah.
And I just saw the movie. It's excellent. But she is really a national treasure of Ireland. And her other book, Foster, this was actually also made into a movie
Wow.
in Irish and with English subtitles, and it is just
Oh,
haunting.
interesting. Yeah.
They're fabulous books.
Claire Keegan.
Claire Keegan. I do read some Frida McFadden. I don't know. She's
Mm,
very interesting physician from not
yep.
her real name, but physician from Boston and the Housemaid series. I know I love those. The
That's going to also be a TV show or movie or
Is it really? Yeah, yeah.
Amanda Seyfried, I think, from Mamma Mia is in it or
Um,
attached to it somehow. But I read The Inmate by her and
okay.
finished it in like 3 hours because her books are so quick and they're short chapters. So you're like, but I need to know, but I need to know, but I need to know. Yeah, big fan, big fan. And a New Englander, so also
New
nice.
Englander, yeah. I just listened to Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Oh yeah,
That is really, I never really knew her. That's
yeah.
a book, and she narrates it herself, and it's like it's like she's talking to you. But I think for all of us, if we had learned some of that before, I
Hmm.
mean, how wonderful, life-changing would that be? Let
Yeah,
them.
my friend before the book came out, she I guess Mel Robbins used to go on the Today Show a lot and talk about it or on her podcast. And my friend actually told me about it a couple of years ago. She's like, "Oh, this woman I follow, she follows the let them theory." And she's like, "Oh, if all your friends go out but they don't invite you, just say let them."
Right.
And you're like it's so simple,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's so hard to do that. Especially as a woman, I think it's hard to be like external, like just make sure everything's external. It's so hard.
And she's like, if it's your business and you're supposed to post on Facebook, social
Mhm.
media, whatever, don't go see how many likes and don't
Yeah,
care if people say, oh, she's putting on every day. Just do you,
do it.
like let them be what they want. And then the next part is like, let me do this.
And I think that goes to show that's why we read the reviews because they're there And
Right.
if somebody's mad about something, let them be mad.
Yeah.
Um, I'm happy with what I did. And hey, where's your book? That's all I say to those some people. Like, hey, where's your book? Um, but yeah, I'm really I want to check that, but I don't do a lot of self-helpy empowering books, but I feel like that's one that
Mm,
I think could be important.
mm.
Because I am an overly anxious millennial who has imposter syndrome, and as all writers do. So it's nice to kind of get that. Yeah. So I wrote down those Claire Keegan books. I'm gonna check those out like
You'll love them.
immediately. Where can people find you?
Well, my website is thoughtfulmidwife.com, and I'm on Facebook uh, and Instagram. And I have to, I'll tell you this one quick thing because I see we have a few seconds. When I told my son, who lives in California, about you in baseball, he said, Mom, you have to tell her what happened during the 2004, um,
Yeah.
ACLS. He said, literally, you were in the kitchen with your head in your hands, and I had to do play by play. If anybody is listening, Boston Red Sox, I had to do play by play of the games with the Yankees. You couldn't watch. I later, Nicole, went back and watched them all
You
but
made,
I
well, now you
laughed.
know what happened.
I know. But it's so, I think that was like all of New England. We were
Yeah.
just, can this be true?
It was so I went to college at Curry College, and I was there in 2003. I graduated in May of '04. I was there at college for the '03 collapse, and I had mono at the time, so double whammy for me. But then '04, I was back in Pennsylvania at my parents' house, and so I was up late watching all of 2004 in my bedroom by myself. I think I screamed, woke
Yeah.
my mom up. My dad was in Virginia at the time. So I woke my mom up, and she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "They won. Oh my God." And I was like, "I can't call my grandpa. It's like 3 in the morning." Like, I can't do that. So, like 7 o'clock the next morning, I called my grandpa who lived in Connecticut because he was the guy that got us into it. So, yeah, that was, and I think we're going to have a good season this year. I think we're gonna do well. Fingers crossed.
Fingers
But we
crossed.
only got like 1 week till spring training really kicks off. So I'm ready. I got my, well, I'm still, you can see I'm still Celticsing because we still
I
got a lot
think
of Celtics. So we got, we're pretty good. And the Patriots will be better last year because they can only get better.
it'll get better. Can't go
In
downhill.
theory. So I'll put your website on the little synopsis so people can just click below, and then I'll tag you and everything. And yeah, this was super fun. And we'll have to do it again when book 5 comes out.
Well, thank you so much, Nicole. I totally appreciate it.
See, isn't she great? I hope to do more events with her, and I hope to see her at all the conferences coming up. If you follow her Facebook, one of her upcoming events, it got canceled for today because we're in the middle of a sort of snowstorm. But it's at the Norwell Public Library, and there's cake involved. So I think it got moved to April. I hope. I think it's the same weekend as Malice Domestic, so I'm really kind of bummed I can't go because I'll be down in DC. But I think if you're in the area, that might be something super fun to go to. So go check her out if you're interested in her books. I'll put the link below. You can click on it. Also, anywhere books are sold. Also at Barnes and Noble, Hingham, because we're big supporters. The other thing I did want to mention, we'll see how many people have stayed to listen to my little outro. Uh, it is the Super Bowl today. It's February 9th, Super Bowl Sunday. I have no dog in the fight. Uh, so I just don't want Kansas City to win. And I think it's because as a Patriots fan, I get it, the hate that Kansas City gets. But I like Travis. Everybody else on the team I could do without. And the Eagles, I really enjoy Saquon Barkley. I think he seems like a guy who's got a good head on his shoulders. He seems fun. So I'm going to cheer for them. So, friend of the program, Darlene DeZamba, whose new book comes out next week, that I'm currently reading, Assault and Gobblery. Um, she is from the Philly area, and she is cheering for the Eagles. So we had a little side discussion because I was cheering for the Commanders, but now I'm fully on the Fly Eagles Fly bandwagon, which is again hard for me as a Patriots fan because we had those contentious Super Bowls. But anything to stop the Chiefs from being like a dynasty would be great. Also, Patrick Mahomes is insufferable and his wife's insufferable. Taylor Swift, I cheer for you, girl, but like, not your team. Or I guess your team was Philly for a long time. You just happened to be dating the enemy. It's fine. It happens. We all go through our villain phases. Although Travis seems like a good guy too, but also because I like Kylie Kelsey. So we're going with the Eagles. Just I'm going to put that on record now. I'm excited to see Kendrick Lamar. I don't have an extensive knowledge of his catalog of work, but he's the Super Bowl performer, and I think he just won record of the year, rap performance of the year at the Grammys, and I think every time I see him perform, it's like a show. So I'm really excited. I'll probably watch that. I don't know if I'll watch a lot of the game. I have an early train ride to New York tomorrow morning, so it might just be on in the background while I do all my final preparations, making sure my house is clean for the cats. I'm going for a day and a half, and you would think I'm like leaving for a week. Like, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to do. There's not that much to do, Nicole. Just get it together. I did hire somebody to shovel me out today because I did not want to have to shovel and then be all achy for my trip to New York. So if you're watching your shows this week, I'm going to see Kelly and Mark on Tuesday morning, and then I'm going to Kelly Clarkson in the afternoon. And I'm really excited for the Kelly Clarkson one because just because she's Kelly Clarkson, but also her musical guest is Alessia Cara. I don't know if I talked about this in the beginning, but love her, love her, love her. Even though she's like so much younger than me, I feel like all her songs are millennial anthems. We've got Growing Pains, Sweet Dreams, like Anxiety, like songs that speak to my anxiety. And so when I sing them loudly in my house by myself from my YouTube video or from my YouTube channels, I really identify with them. So when I saw that she was the guest, I was like, oh, so cool. So excited. The guests for Kelly and Mark, not as excited. I know Theo James from like period dramas, but Alex Cooper from Call Her Daddy podcast. Don't really know much about her. Seems like a great interview, so we'll see what happens. And it's also Love Week, which whatevs. But hopefully I'm going to try to be the trivia dancer. If I don't get that, I'm going to be wearing my shirt that I showed last week with my mom, Kelly, and I. So hopefully I'll get a shout out and I can shout out my mom. And then tomorrow I'm going to see Seth Meyers when I get down to town because he's been killing it on all the cuckoo banana pants stuff happening with the government. So yeah, it's going to be a fun little quick trip. I also hope to make it to the Strand bookstore. I've never been there, and I hear it's 18 miles of books, just what I need, more books, but maybe just for the experience and the fun. I don't have any other big plans. They're gonna, me, I'm a day girly, so I probably won't be going out at night. If I had one extra day, I would probably go see a matinee of Anne Juliet with Joey Fatone from NSYNC, because again, that's my jam, that's my time of year, that's all the music I have on my phone. But I got to come back for that one day of work before my weekend, so we're going to do that, and then I'll be back. So we'll talk about that next week, and as I said, pitchers and catchers report this week, so happy reading, and go Red Sox!